I'm going to be starting off. I'll be kicking us off this hour, and we've got another speaker after me to close this out. We've just had a fantastic lineup of speakers. Loved that discussion from Dan earlier and Chris too. Great stuff. I'm really just excited, to share insights about kind of where we're going, where we're seeing things go as an organization, and so. That's what I'm here to talk to you a little bit about. What can EX learn from CX? And I'll start with just a quick introduction. I'm Lance. I work for the Star Conspiracy. We're an experience agency for work tech companies. We've been at the forefront of CX for 2 decades. And because of the industry we serve, we see a really intrinsic link between CX and EX. So we talk a lot about that because we've worked with the largest HR service providers in the world, some of the largest HR technology providers in the world too. So it's really, we really see this connection. And so it's something that we're really passionate about as well. Me personally, I'm Vice President of Market Insights here. So I spend a lot of time researching, analyzing, writing, sometimes presenting like this as part of my role with both the Star Conspiracy and Inspiring Workplaces as well. I do wear a lot of hats, but I do not have a bit of hair on top of my head, unfortunately. I do have this mullet wig, which was kind of an inside joke to one of our other presentations. So if you look at the presentation last year, I talked a little bit about the reverse mullet too. But enough about me. Let's talk a little bit about employee experience. And I think it's important to start off with our definition of employee experience, which if you didn't see my talk last year, I need to at least set that context. So it's important to define EX because there's so many different definitions of it. What do you think about it? What do you think employee experience is all about? Some people think EX is just employee engagement with a fancier name. Other people think EX is just made up to make some consultants some money, which might be a little true. But I can assure you that EX is very real. Employee experience is the perception of the quality of all the experiences we collect at work. We think of employee experience in a really holistic way. It's very similar to customer experience. It's just one part. It isn't just one part of the experience. It's the perception of all the experiences that we have at work. And ever since the emphasis of CX has come to light, we've been thinking about how can we take this same work that we've learned with 20 years of doing this work on CX, how can we take some of those lessons and apply them to employee experience as well? What we do know is that employee experience is critically important for organizations, but it's easy to get overwhelmed by this definition because if you have this really broad view of employee experience, we've had lots of work leaders really kind of freak out about that. And that's kind of fun to experience as well. How can we control all of these experiences that people collect at work every single day? We can't even control the parts we want to right now. And I get that. I've been in your shoes. I've been an HR leader before. Here's where the great part is. You don't have to care about every single experience. You just have to focus on the perception of those experiences. And that's different. It's an important difference. What our approach to EX requires is that you realize that the perception is really the only part that matters. This is what people actually will remember about your workplace, about the employee experience. When someone is thinking about or relaying their experience as an employee, it's being driven by perception. And this is incredibly important because there's been a ton of research done on this. And how we build our perceptions. Chip and Dan Heath have done some of the easier to consume research on moments, although it's backed by really in-depth academic things. We don't average out minute by minute details and say, well, that 5 minutes sucked or that 60 minutes sucked. This part was great. The first few minutes of my day were fun, but after that, we're not keeping track of things like that. We remember these flagship moments or these things that consistently build up over time. And the graphic I used last year, if you've seen it before, it just really, we get this whole thing on one side of the screen here where you've got all of these moments kind of stacked up. And then these moments sort of come out of that experience. What you realize is most of the stuff on that far left of the slide is going to be disregarded at some point because it's not a major thing. It's just a client call. It's just a customer coming through the drive-through. It's just a guest coming into a hotel. Those things sort of fall into the background, especially as time goes on. But what you can do, and what's really nice about this concept, is that you can use this as sort of these defining moments as sort of saying like, hey, we can really invest our time in one or two things. We don't have to improve everything about our workplace. We could just focus on a couple. Maybe we could just do a couple at a time to slowly improve our employee experience as well. But this also brings up even more questions like, how can we drive perception effectively? How can we drive that? So if perception is everything, it's not just about collecting all these moments and trying to improve the average. We're trying to figure out how to improve the perception. How do we identifying the moments that matter is critical, but what if we sort of zoom it out a little bit? What if we looked at how we could create an experience that is unified through all parts of the employee journey? What if we could create an environment for defining moments that show up that we show up authentically and consistently as an organization? We have the capability to do that. And we found, on our work on CX, it's true in EX too. It's that success in these experiences require two factors. The first one is quality. The quality of the moments you create matter. Quality matters. And you're probably like, of course, quality matters. Of course, quality experiences matter. But how we define quality when it comes to moments that we could create is maybe a little bit more nuanced than just saying a good quality experience. It's not about just making something look good or seem good. In fact, what we'd say is that, customer experience, the best organizations create moments that shape people's perceptions about the essential nature, defining characteristics of their company. Quality experiences, whether they're in a customer experience or employee experience, is about defining some really important things first. Who are we as an organization? What do we stand for? That's our essential nature as an organization. Are we underdogs? Are we heroes? Are we helpers? Are we the smartest people in the room? Everything derives from that nature, basically. How do we show who we are authentically to the market? What traits are essential to knowing when we're demonstrating our essential nature? So it's not just about having that single thing. It's also about defining characteristics. We need to put those, to put guidance on our essential nature too. So we know, what does this look like in our organization? Okay. For example, we might be underdogs, but we still might focus on winning the right way. That might be in contrast to a scrappy underdog who's going to find every little advantage as long as it's not illegal, right? So those are two of the same essential natures that are also defined more specifically by their defining characteristics. When we look at this, we look at the essential nature as sort of what is your promise to employees. I crossed out customers because we usually do this for customers. What are you doing together that's unique? So at gaming company like EA, it's inspiring the world to play. At the hotel chain Marriott, it's that you can be you when you come to work. At PetSmart, you're going to make pets' lives happy and healthy. At Salesforce, you're going to blaze your trail. An essential nature should be simple. It should be something that's true. It also should be something that resonates throughout the entire organization. This isn't just about how the executives come to work, how they show up, what they're excited about. It should be how everybody shows up. It should be true for the entire organization. So when you think of from your very front lines to the highest parts of your organization and everybody in between, that essential nature should be how you measure, how you should be thinking about your organization as a whole. Defining characteristics is how we know when we're staying true to our defining characteristics, to our essential nature. For example, our essential nature at the Star Conspiracy is abundance. We are in the abundance business. But abundance can mean a lot of different things. What does it mean at our organization? How do we measure abundance? Well, for us, it means bringing your best ideas to the table, the biggest ideas to the table, every single day, that we share our insights generously, like I'm doing right now. We don't keep those types of things internal. We want to share it freely. We never miss a chance to say thank you. And so, in case I haven't said it already, thanks for making it through 23 plus hours of this Inspirathon to see me, to have this experience with me. I really appreciate it. It's been a great experience for us, and there's been some great speakers. But that's part of our defining characteristic as an organization. So you have to start with this vision, this EX vision that's driven by your essential nature and your defining characteristics. That's what makes up the EX vision. And the EX vision is actually the center of the world when it comes to connecting everything that you're building your EX programs around. EX vision is only as good as the level of care that you put into living that vision across the entire EX platform that you're driving though. What is the single unifying thing that ensures employees develop a positive perception of the company in every subdomain of EX? How do we ensure a holistic employee experience with no breaks in continuity? We don't have those places where people feel like we're missing the boat. This is the story that will result in that singular vision for EX, the plan to execute that vision across all domains of those things. So when we look at employer brand, when we look at recruitment marketing, when we look at candidate experience, work experience, employee success, all of those things start with understanding sort of the core of this, your EX vision. All right. I said 2 factors. The second one is harder. Defining your EX vision is great. You can't just leave it at a promise, though. You have to execute on that promise. Taking that vision across all subdomains of EX is difficult. We have to display consistently across all those aspects. Otherwise, you get these breaks of continuity. Things that when it happens, it's unexpected because you were set up to begin with to believe that this company was about something different than whatever they're showing during that phase of things. This is another one where we get some inspiration from CX. When you look at a brand like Coke, you see the same sorts of traits regardless of the context. The label's red. The drink is cold and refreshing. It's always about smiles, from brand to marketing to sales to product to customer. There's nothing that really ever seems out of place, which is kind of remarkable. No matter where you see it, if you've traveled to a place where you don't speak the language, you can't read the language, and you could easily grab a Coke from a convenience store, wherever you're at the world, even if you don't understand the language, even if it's in a completely different area than you would expect, you're still probably able to, in a really quick minute, find where a Coke is in almost anywhere. It's very intentional how they built that up, and you can't do that with just a vision. I believe that Coke probably has a great experience vision, but it has to go through that entire journey from what you see in a billboard to what you grab with your hands, to the experience of drinking it. All that has to be very consistent. CX really drives the most iconic brands. When you think of great brands out there, the brands that people rate as the most iconic and recognizable deliver quality, as in something that's authentic to them, and consistent experiences from the very first time you might be aware of them through the time that you're a customer. So you think about Disney's Magic. You think about Harley's Loud Rebellion. You think about Nike's Driving Force to Win. They never take a break from figuring out how to deliver that consistently across all of these areas of CX. Their difference isn't just a strong vision. It's also sort of a ruthless pursuit of that vision across all of these CX domains. It's really important. It's really hard to do. And that's what's made these companies iconic, because not only have they done it consistently across all of these domains, but they've done it consistently for years. And that's really, really the key to that. And that's one of the things we can really learn about from the EX perspective. Building this for employee experience is just as possible and just as challenging. It's a holistic model for building employee experience. It really considers those 5 subdomains of EX as equally important in managing the perception of employees. So we look at employer brand experience. We look at recruitment marketing experience. We look at candidate experience. We look at work experience. We look at employee success experience. I'm going to define all these in just a second. But employee experience is the leading driver of success and failure for organizations. And I'll say that again. It's the leading driver of success and failure for organizations. If you don't have a great employee experience, you can't deliver greatness to customers. You can't deliver results to shareholders. You can't do anything. And so we look at these failures as really important problems to solve. Most of these failures are caused by breaks in continuity between subdomains of EX. When you go from one thing to the next, that gives you a huge opportunity to break the continuity in that experience. And all 5 of these EX domains have to be consistent across vision and strategy and execution in order to do that. So let's talk about each one of these really briefly. Employer brand experience is a place where I think a lot of people figure this isn't employee experience. This is employer brand. People sort of separate these two things out. But we actually start EX before someone is even an employee, and there's a good reason why. Give me 1 second to take a sip here. Have you ever talked to somebody at a really cool company? And so I'm based here in Portland, Oregon. We have some really cool companies here. We have Nike's headquarters is here. Adidas's North American headquarters is here. Columbia Sportswear is here. Keen, Danner Boots. Like, we got some, when you just look at apparel, so not even looking outside of anything there, we've got some interesting companies and some really great brands, consumer brands at least. You get excited about meeting people from cool brands. And some of these companies maybe don't treat their employees great. And so you get this, it kind of takes the glow off the brand a little bit. And so EX definitely starts before you ever become a candidate, before you might ever become an employee. Driving that perception before someone ever becomes a candidate is a job of employer brand experience. It's not about just making the job seem cool. It's also about making it authentic. And here's another example from the Pacific Northwest, because that's where I'm from. But if you've ever met someone who's spent a few years at Amazon working there, you probably know one thing: they probably worked their ass off. They are hard workers, and Amazon doesn't hire slackers and across any of their organizations. That should be no surprise, because Amazon doesn't promise that you're going to come in there and you're going to have leisurely 2-hour lunches, or that you're going to have this amazing work-life balance where you're going to be working 32 hours a week and everything's going to be great. You're going to work hard and you're going to make a difference in the world, but you're also going to be working really hard. And guess what? Their employer brand makes that really specific. Nobody's surprised when they go to Amazon and they're like, I had to work 60 hours this week. Yeah. That's because you work for Amazon. That's what they expect of their people. And this is kind of what you signed up for. Companies like Amazon have actually done a good job, even though it might not be a job for everybody, of differentiating themselves, creating a defensible place to recruit from. And it's sustainable because it tells the truth about what it's like to work there. It doesn't create a break in continuity where somebody expects to be working 32 hours a week, expects to have a nice, great, leisurely lunch, to show up in the office whenever they want. No, they're going to be going to the office. They're going to work hard. They're going to leave whenever the job's done. It's not everybody's cup of tea, which is exactly what a good brand should be doing. That's exactly how you know the employer brand's working. Recruitment marketing, though, is much more straightforward. Recruitment marketing isn't about creating an employee experience. It's not about creating the perception of what that EX is going to be like that. It's about delivering that message consistently to candidates and prospective candidates. It's a little bit of strategy. It's part process too. It's turning the processes of your brand to ultimately achieve those hiring objectives. Like customer experience, employee experience goes through these 4 phases of recruitment marketing to ensure that it's part of EX is accomplished. So, for example, connecting with candidates through advertising. Real simple, that's recruitment marketing at its core. Engaging candidates with valuable information to help them make better decisions. So as much as we're vetting candidates, we also want these folks to come in and vet our organization. Is it going to be a good fit? Is it going to be a good match? hiring candidates with effectiveness and efficiency. So you think about that as recruitment marketing, just like CX marketing. It's the same motion there. Equipping them for their journey as an employee. So getting them ready to start. So again, you're not breaking continuity from one phase to the next. Candidate experience is probably the one that people here are maybe most familiar with, or maybe secondary most familiar with. And we got to thank the Candidate Experience Awards, the Candies, and other orgs for having just great research on the candidate experience. I don't have anything to add to what they're doing, but one thing we know is that candidate experience is typically the first place where the rubber meets the road on employee experience. It's the first time when somebody actually experiences what it means to live that promise that you're doing, the essential nature of the organization, the defining characteristics. That's where it starts to show up. Advertising campaigns turns the reality of a person who must be processed through an ATS, interact with human recruiters and hiring managers who don't always deliver that consistent experience. Marriott promises that it's a place where you can be you. But what happens if they don't deliver that during the hiring process? That's really the first time where you're going to interact with somebody whose job it is to deliver that experience. In short, candidate experience is part where you start to make good on your essential nature and deliver on your defining characteristics. The next two need a little bit more explanation because these two definitions of employee experience get conflated in a lot of different places. In work experience, this is the experience of how work gets done inside of organizations. So everything in the way workplaces are designed, organized, the way people are onboarded, trained, processed, for how you get things done. All of that falls into the work experience side of things. People can feel like their needs are taken care of, but the work experience could be a mess. The opposite is true too. Employee success is also how employees are supposed to be treated, whether it's how they're supported, whether it's D&I initiatives, whether it's benefits, whether it's well-being, whether it's recognition, whether it's fair compensation. Your work experience can be top-notch, so you can have great computers, you can have a great office, but if your people are burnt out, poorly recognized for their work, that's not a compatible thing. Employee success is what most companies consider EX right now, but as you see, we have 4 other critical domains that set expectations for that. I wanted to clarify that because I'm going to jump into work experience here too. Work experience is such an easy thing to control, but it's super underrated in the EX strategy. And so I love to share this example. I worked at a place that was mostly pretty good. But something stuck out about the experience of working there. You see, every time it rained semi-hard, which, I live in Portland, we do get our share of rain. The parking lot would partially flood. I would wear boots to work, not because I needed it for my job, but because I wanted to keep my feet dry, on those days that it was going to rain. Half the parking lot would be inaccessible. Otherwise, you'd have to either park very, very far away in a different parking lot, or you would just have to park in the huge puddle and deal with that. Did they ever fix that? No, I am being 100% serious here. I went by there a few months ago when it first rained, and I was just kind of curious if they had fixed this. And no, there was still a gigantic puddle there. The executives didn't care. They all parked somewhere else in there, and a lot of them, at least as I'm to understand, don't even go to the offices frequently as they did in the past. Obviously. There were complaints. Yeah, it never got fixed. And it's a very small thing. On its own, it's no big deal. And I say that truly. I mean, if that was the only thing that was going wrong inside the organization, that'd be one thing. But the lack of investment in infrastructure is also shown a consistent experience of not always being faithful to the majority of employees' needs. And so you start to see other patterns of that happening inside the organization where, hey, the executives are taken care of. Some of our, valued employees are taken care of during this. Why aren't we all being taken care of? Critical systems like project management or training tools may seem major, but they're also probably even more important to employee experience than you might even initially think. Work experience is a super important one to get right as well. Finally, employee success experience. we're to the point where you should be really comfortable with this part of EX. This is what we generally this is generally what we're trying to do with employee experience today, trying to get people to bring their best selves to work every single day. The problem is if you get to this point and you've muffed the other 4 areas, well, your employees are probably not going to they're not going to acknowledge the work that you've done here. Employee success is the purest expression of your EX vision, though, where promises are often made or broken. And so this is where setting things up before anybody even comes in for their first day of work with your employer brand, with your recruitment marketing, with your candidate experience, they know exactly what to expect when they come in. It has to be faithful to what you're doing at your workplace. And whenever you're navigating those tough decisions that you need to make about employees, what do we do? What do we believe about ourselves? What do we believe about each other? What defining characteristics does it mean to live out our essential nature as an organization? It's all revealed here. How you lay people off, how you promote people, how you recognize people. It all is laid bare right here. And I'll say this, it's just this simple. Just bring everything together, do it under an EX vision. It's difficult to create this vision and experience consistently across these domains. I won't say that, but I also wouldn't be living up to our defining characteristics as an organization, the STAR conspiracy, if I didn't tell you there's also way more opportunity here than risk. It's so exciting to do all this work. The best part is it makes all the other decisions you have to make, those other decisions you have to make as a work leader much easier if you figure this stuff out ahead, and becomes this North Star that guides us through delivery. I've got one little secret for you. There's an Easter egg here as I close my presentation. All of this stuff I just went through, it's necessary and great, but you can't get to EX Nirvana by just doing all of this with ruthless efficiency. You have to do something that breaks the script. And this is the back of my laptop. I've got a bunch of stickers on it. These script breaking moments could take the highs of a special moment, say when a person gets a promotion, or the lows of days we'll never forget. Say when someone loses a family member and delivers the vision in the most visceral way. For my 10-year anniversary, a large contingent of my coworkers shared their favorite breweries with me, so that no matter where I traveled, I could find a place with delicious craft beer. I love it. I love these guys. It was in line with our essential nature, abundance, and with our defining characteristics, freely sharing information that made my life richer and better. It was also memorable too. I saved that presentation on a personal folder so I would never lose it. There's orchestration and magic during script breaking moments that can make or break your experience for the better. These moments will also give you, charity whenever you are imperfect in your promises, like we all are. That's the great thing about this. So think about how you could sort of elevate those highs and make those lows a little bit easier to deal with by thinking about ways you could break the script that are aligned with your EX vision. If you got this far, thank you so much. The too long to watch, EX is a collection of defining moments, not all moments. EX can follow the lead of CX by delivering experiences with quality consistency. That's what we talked about today. And then make sure to break the script, to elevate the highs and lows of your employee experience throughout. I want to thank you so much. I went 1 minute over, which I regret because this is already a long thing. But please reach out if you have any questions about this. We'd love to chat about EX and CX. You can find me on the socials. You can email me. Please feel free to do that.